Hey everybody, welcome to BrickVault. My name's Jack. Today is another LEGO Top 10 Mocks of the Week. This is just the coolest creations that I happened to see people making out of LEGO throughout this last week. And at the end of the episode, like always, I will be showing off your fan custom creations, the pictures that you guys send to me every single week through our email. If you want to send pictures for next week's LEGO Custom Creations episode, check out the description below. And let's just jump right in with the very first build. Starting off kind of small, we've got ourselves a build for a Griffin by the builder Random Vector. There's a few little things that I love so much about this mock. First off, we just don't have a lot of builds of Griffins in LEGO, and this is, I think, the best version I've seen. In fact, I think it looks better than the LEGO molded version of a Griffin from the Harry Potter series. There's a nice diversity of colors. It looks like the creature itself actually has a pretty decent animated stance, and according to the description, this was a build made out of mostly spare parts. And yeah, taking a look, it feels like that, at least within our collection, we would probably have the parts to make this guy already. And I just love seeing such an awesome build come from such an accessible amount of pieces. Now it is officially December, and I'm not gonna bombard you guys with a ton of Christmas themed builds, but I had to put this Santa Claus in. I just love all the sloped pieces that make up the body. There's a great amount of smoothness to the whole thing. There's a few studs kind of popping out here and there, but there's a few fun details I particularly like about this Santa Claus, namely the build for the head. If you look closely at his face, you can even see that the part that makes up the mouth and mustache and beard are actually kinked off to the side a little bit, and that's just an awesome way to put together a build for the Santa Claus hat. This came from the builder vincentkiew, and let's jump onto a pretty unique type of build. This is Tuscany Cottage by Sandro Damiano. Now this mock entails one of my favorite types of build styles, which is forced perspective, so you can see the backdrop of the sky, and even the cottage really is part of the backdrop, even though all those clouds and the house itself sort of sticks out a little bit. And then the majority of the mock is the fields, the cypress, and the field of sunflowers in the front. That's so awesome. I've never seen anybody do a field of sunflowers before. It's such a simple way to put those together. And from this lower angle, it really feels like that path is sort of winding around a hill. Also, we have a park in our LEGO city with some cypress trees, and I kind of like the way these are put together. So in the future, we might be borrowing some design features from this mock here. Now build number 7, I will admit, has a lot of nostalgic value to me. Of course, this is Totoro by the builder Eggy Pop. This guy is probably one of the more commonly LEGO built cartoon characters, I would say, but his features have been captured really well. Particularly, I think the build for the head is really strong. The eyes, mouth, whiskers, and ears all look really excellent. I think the inclusion of the gray sort of boomerang shaped markings from Totoro on the chest work well for this build, and in general this looks like a really fun creature to have built up around the studio. Now when we jump down to number 6, this is an awesome combination between sort of regular LEGO system bricks and some Bionicle pieces. We've got the build called Dragon, basically, or also the Leviathan, and this was designed by the builder Jayfa. Now if I was to take a guess, I feel like the seed parts might be the dragon wings that come from, I believe, an elf set, so that's where we have the blue and purple. It looks like the head is made mostly of system bricks, while sort of the underbelly has quite a few purple Bionicle parts, and well, it looks like maybe most of the body or tail also seems to have Bionicle pieces as well. I think one of the strongest aspects of this build, though, is kind of like the wonderful combination of this light blue and purple. There's even a couple of little lavender highlights as well, and the whole thing feels sort of very exotic and colorful, yet the face is still really frightening. Now the number 5 build, I believe, is based on an Assassin's Creed video game, the Black Flag. Never played it, don't really care. This build is awesome regardless of where the source material came from. I'm a big fan of the pirate theme in LEGO in general, and this is a super complete looking sort of tropical yet very dangerous and sort of grungy scene. Right off the bat, I'd like to say the build for the water is awesome. It's the sort of nice Caribbean light blue, and that building technique really kind of makes it feel sort of clear and glassy. The palm trees look amazing. The thatched roof in the back has a really fun building technique, and I like the sort of mast and I guess the rotten wooden bit of maybe a ship hull kind of sticking out of the water. It looks really cool. There's a lot of details to notice in this build though, and if LEGO was to bring back the pirate theme at any point, this would be a MOC that I think would be beneficial for them to take notes from. Now, number 4 is awesome. It's technically not made just from LEGO. There's also a very small xylophone put into here, but basically what we have is a gigantic music box created by Dawid Marasek. Now, this guy has a YouTube video that I'm leaving linked in the description below. In fact, links to all of the builders and their flickers are in the description below. But you'll see that this thing is modular, so it can play any song that you know the notes to. And I suppose my only gripe with the way this thing is put together is that I want it to be longer so you can put more of a song together, as opposed to maybe just the general ditty or the general tune that is most recognizable. At the end of the day, this is a really awesome concept. It's pretty much exactly how a normal music box works, just translated into a much larger scale for LEGO. This design was executed excellently. And I highly recommend you guys check out the full video. Now, I'm not gonna character act the name of this next MOC. It's called Nooooo! And this build was co-built by Caleb Watson and Carlyle Livingston. I've heard many people say in the past that this particular Star Wars scene is probably one of the #1 LEGO sets that never got made. It's so dang iconic, and these custom builders went way above and beyond. They basically rebuilt what was probably the same size as the actual movie set to get this scene shot in real life. So the entire mechanical and lit up backdrop that makes up this huge sort of cavern or tunnel in the Cloud City is made entirely of LEGO. When pulling back and really seeing the entire scale of the MOC, you can probably imagine, or at least try to imagine, the amount of time and effort and energy that went into the creation of this one scene. I mean, it really is just Darth Vader and Luke holding on, you know, to the end of this one sort of mechanical bridge. But the dedication to the sort of immersion of what this Star Wars scene is by creating the huge background makes me really appreciate what these builders have done, and I don't even want to know how long this must have taken. Now, here is the #2 build. Rarely does a giant mech ever make top 3 for my top 10 creations of the week, but there's just something so fun and unique about this particular build that I just couldn't quite ignore it. This is HYPR10NN by Gerald Kakas, and what I love about this build is that there's so much more to just the mech than meets sort of the entirety of the MOC. First of all, the mech itself is great. I really do like the shape of this. It kind of reminds me of sort of a classic Gundam style build. But more than that, the stand where this guy is set up is sort of the maintenance area where we have our initial mechanic. He seems to be this kind of colorful little kid that I think it's his build. I think it's his mech. I like seeing the robot completely sort of getting fueled up, or it's attached with energy cords or who knows what, but it makes the universe around this build feel a lot more sort of fully realized. And I like these few pictures where it shows the giant robot sort of surrounded by other characters. And I actually looked this guy up on Google thinking that this might have belonged to like a TV show, and these were all characters that were sort of fully realized from a different universe. But I believe this thing is just kind of its own individual unique creation. At the end of the day, it feels like there's a much deeper story behind this build, and so I kind of appreciate it for a lot more than just it being an awesome, cool robot, which it is. All right, and for the #1 build of the week, this is the first time I've ever put a pirate themed build, I think, as the #1 creation for the week, but this is called Mission San Escobar 1715 by the builder Piglet Siamek. Now, first thing to note, this thing is absolutely massive. I don't know how big it is. I don't know what the measurements are, but it's safe to say that this builder kind of fit everything in, I think, that they were going for. Now, aside from sort of the obvious kind of awesome grandeur of what this scene is from afar, there's also some really awesome building techniques that you can see if you look at it a little bit closer. For example, this is the first time I personally have seen somebody turn the studs to the side for creating a rocky face along this sort of cliff edge. It allows the sort of curvature of this cliff face for the rocks to sort of curve back a little bit into the ocean without showing any undersides of the studs, and there's even a cleverly hidden ugly rock piece on its side as well if you look close. Never seen that before as a building technique. I think it looks amazing. Also, can I just say the build for the mission itself is already noteworthy enough. I don't know if this is designed directly after a building that exists already, but it has some really iconic shapes here, and when you look at it it from this sort of bird's eye view, you can see that it's actually been built offset from the regular studs. So here you can see it's been kind of placed exactly where the builder wants it to be. And maybe with some of these other close-up shots, you can see that every inch of this island has some kind of story, some kinds of characters playing out a certain plot line. I don't know if this is based on anything or if it's based on maybe even non-fiction. Really, your guess is as good as mine. But if you check out the description of this particular mock, you can see that a lot of these characters all have names, and I think they all have sort of intentions or are trying to, you know, achieve some sort of goal, and there is a kind of story playing itself out all within this awesome sort of beautiful giant island mock. And with that, that is it for the top 10 creations of the week. So here are the fan mocks that are starting to come at you. Remember, if you guys have any cool custom creations that you want to send in, remember, check out the description below for the proper email. And that is it. So here are the fan creations of the week, and also shout out to this awesome build of Davy Jones.